Lee Greenwood will be right here. First, our next guest thinks that the image of what he calls the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Christ child has surpassed gangster rap as the most destructive force influencing black children today. Why does he say it's time to start dreaming of a black Christmas? Joining us, the founder of the New Righteous Movement, Reverend Paul Scott. Reverend Scott, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Jesus was Mediterranean. The Discovery Channel earlier this year did a digitized picture of what Jesus probably looked like, and the image was very different than what the traditional media-generated image of Jesus has been. He was most likely dark-skinned, correct?
Of course, the image of the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus that is on many walls and even in many black churches is not even historically correct. We believe that the person that the world called Jesus, and his real name was actually Yeshua. The white man actually named him Jesus.
Right.
We believe he was a black man.
We have a Eurocentric attitude about things, and that permeates our culture. What do you mean by a black Christmas?
For so many years, I know when I was growing up, the only images I saw on television during Christmas time were the Eurocentric images, the European images. And that, even at a young age, I saw something wrong with that. I mean, if you even look at the Charlie Brown specials, the only black kid they had up there was Franklin. He didn't even talk black.
So what do you want to do about it?
I think that the African American community, the black community, needs to demand black images. If white America wants to tell their children that after they work hard all year long, a fat white man is going to come down the chimney and give them something, that's fine. But the black community, we must set another standard, and we must take down the Eurocentric images, throw them in the garbage can, and put up Afrocentric images.
Does it really matter as long as people have the spirit of Jesus, the spirit of Christmas? Isn't that what's really important, rather than arguing over skin color?
Well, the problem is that as long as he is portrayed as white, it was never a problem. For 400 years, he's been portrayed as white, ever since they took a picture or drew a picture of Michelangelo's cousin or nephew or what have you. But the minute someone stands up and says that picture is in error and he's black, all of a sudden it becomes an issue and it doesn't matter anymore. If it didn't matter, why was he painted white in the first place?
You know, Paul, Sean Hannity here, it's really sad when people like yourself try and turn the most important holidays and traditions into, you know, one of these divisive events, a racial event to divide people. It's sad. What you're doing here is racist, and it's sad. I've read some of your writings, and I just, you know, why are you doing it? Where did all this antipathy and animosity and racism come from?
You know, it's, I first want to say that Hannity, I believe that's his name, Hannity, this Republican, moron, idiot, racist piece of shit, he is probably one of the biggest scumbags on television. And of course, he happens to be on the Fox News channel, which is, I think, a cesspool of scumbags and morons. But anyway, about what he said, he's, like, my question to him is, what is wrong with a black Jesus or a black Santa Claus? What exactly is he doing that's racist and sad? What is he doing that is racist and sad, Hannity?
It's got to have some roots somewhere.
Right. Well, actually, you can't accuse black people of being racist.
Sure you can.
We didn't start the fire. As Billy Joel would say, we didn't start the fire. We inherited racism. I don't have the political or ability or economic ability to deprive you of anything. Therefore, I cannot be racist. But if you look historically...
Do you even know the definition of racism? Do you know what the definition is? Has nothing to do with what you just described about economic power. It's the inherent belief in superiority of one race over another.
It is a fact that blacks can, in fact, be racist. However, the point that he's trying to make, and he's probably not articulating this very well, is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter nearly as much. It doesn't carry as much weight. Now, let's give an example to help illustrate that. Before World War II, before the Holocaust, you had the minority, which are Jews, and then you had the majority, which would be Germans. Now, the question is, if there was a racist Jew who hated Germans, okay, or racist, or let's say bigoted, okay, who was bigoted against Germans, would it matter? The answer is no, because Jews, especially during that time, They were a minority, so they did not have economic ability to oppress anyone, and they did not have political ability to oppress anyone. They were part of the minority. The majority has the power. They're the ones whose bigoted feelings carry more weight. That's why it's more meaningful. It doesn't matter if a Jew is bigoted against a German. They can't do anything about it, but Germans could. That's the point. And that resulted in the extermination of 6 million Jews. 6 million people died because of those feelings. So if we take that over to America, we realize that we had a similar thing going on here in America, where blacks were being oppressed and killed by the majority who were whites. So even though today there are equal rights and the civil rights movement helped change a lot of things, the fact of the matter is we don't forget what has happened. There's a history of racism from whites against blacks, and they had the ability to do something about it. They had the ability to oppress the blacks. So when a black person is racist against a white, it doesn't mean nearly as much. It's more like a whatever, because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't carry nearly as much weight. That's what he was trying to say.
This is what you write, you know, in "'Tis the Season to Be Black." This is the time of year that the whole world, quote, turns lily white. And those that aren't white wish they were. White Jesus, white Santa, white elves. What's an Afrocentric brother to do? Pour myself a cup of eggnog and go off singing "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas"? Never. You wrote that, didn't you?
I wrote that, and I stand by that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it's just sad that you can't get beyond this antipathy, this racism that you have. It's sad.
I think what is sad is that we always talk about in this country, can't we all get along? But the true test of equality will be when white America accepts my black dreadlock Messiah.
You can have any Santa you want. You can do anything you want here. But the fact of the matter is, if you see a white Santa Claus or a white elf, you just see color. And I guess that's the difference between most people. Most people aren't looking for color.
He's making a generalization, saying most people don't see color. Actually, I think most people do. Especially when their preconceived notions of what these people look like are changed. Nobody ever made a racial issue about the fact that Jesus is depicted as a white person, even though historically he's not. Only when they change him to being black, all of a sudden it's a racial issue for Hannity. And this is what Paul Scott said before. It only became an issue after they changed everybody's preconceived notion of what Jesus was supposed to look like. Then it became a racial issue. And you just made the racial issue by saying that, by talking about it now.
And you're turning a holiday season where hopefully we can bring some people together into a racist event because you have some political agenda.
Let me ask this. If the person you call Jesus was around during the Jim Crow days in Alabama, it's at a restaurant segregated against black people.
Do you know what year it is, Paul?
Would he been served, or would he been asked to leave the restaurant? He would have been kicked out of the restaurant because of his color.
What year is this?
Scott, we thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
I think Paul Scott is bringing up a decent point, although, again, I don't think he's articulating it very well, that the Messiah that Christians worship would have been hated and discriminated against if he was alive during the Jim Crow era or during the slavery era. He would have been oppressed because he wasn't white. And America back then was oppressive to minorities, especially dark-skinned minorities. And that's the thing that Hannity doesn't seem to get. I mean, yes, the point isn't about what's going on today. He's trying to change your view about what Jesus actually is. He is somebody you're worshiping, but he is actually somebody that you would have hated back in the old days. So everything about you, it's apparent that Hannity is pro-white. That's what I'm getting out of him, that he's pro-white. But his Messiah, the person he worships, is not white. And it's so obvious that he has a problem with that. He has a major problem with that. And that's why Hannity is a racist son of a bitch.